All right, boys and girls, we're in the Rainmaker Studios again. And I'm wearing my Dan Fouts jersey. I feel like I should have a full beard. Dan Fouts, man, he was great. And the irony is, I have another book report, and this one is called The Uncrowned Champions, about the 1963 San Diego Chargers. Now, recently I did the book report about Sid Gilman, basically the father of the passing game. Something I didn't mention in the book report was NFL teams, when they create plays, and they'll have X, Y, and Z, the names they give the wide receivers. Sid Gilman created that. Now you go, X, Y, and Z, what the hell? Big deal. Well, actually, it is a big deal because that's what everyone, since he started it, is doing. I don't care, NFL, college, even in high school for that matter. But this book, the premise of this book, and it's a great book. It's almost 400 pages long, but it's a quick read in a sense because there's a lot of pictures, easy read. And the premise is they talk about, okay, Super Bowl 1 and 2, the Packers beat in Super Bowl 1 the Oakland Raiders. In Super Bowl 2 they beat Kansas City. And I got interrupted. It's all good. So in Super Bowl 3, the Jets beat Baltimore with Joe Namath. I guarantee I'm going to win. Yeah, I guarantee it. The Joe Namath guarantee. And after that, when they won that Super Bowl, a lot of people were big deal. They got lucky. And then the next Super Bowl, Kansas City shellacked the Minnesota Vikings. I believe it was 23-7. I think, I can't remember. But anyway, and that's the famous one with Hank Stram, because he had a microphone on, and you see him talking, and it's like he's playing up to the camera. But anyway, we go back to 1963 and the San Diego Chargers. The reason why this guy wrote this book, it's believed, at least a lot of these Chargers, if not a lot of other people, that they could have potentially beat the NFL champion that year, which was the Chicago Bears. And so in the book, they go over that season, how it started, spring training or training camp, and how it went. And the interesting thing is, they said the last year or two prior, team they weren't kind of wimpified, I guess you could say. And he took them to a place they nicknamed Rough Acres Ranch, and it was a crappy place, and there was no bars or anything. So when the guys wanted to go get a beer, they would walk to this gas station and have a beer there. So it was kind of wild. But it's a great book because it goes into training camp, and then every single game there's some information about each game. And I'm going to show you the picture of this one. This is of a game 1 where they were playing in San Diego against the Buffalo Bills. So I'll give you the date, which in this case was September 8th, 1963, and the attendance, which is kind of cool. And then the picture of what I believe was on the program, 50 cents for the program. It's actually pretty cool. And then, so they go into the story of that game, what was going on, how it went, and in these chapters pertaining to each game, they interview certain people. Sometimes it's a San Diego Charger player. Sometimes it's a a player that played against them that year and talks a bit about certain players. Everybody gets talked about it. And of the players, they had quarterbacks. They had John Hadel and Tobin Rote. Now, if you don't know who Tobin Rote is, if you're from Dallas, you might have heard of Kyle Rote Jr., right? Kyle Rote Jr. I believe they're related. I may be wrong, but I think they are. But anyway, Tobin Rote. Tobin Rote was a quarterback in the NFL that later on, he was kind of thrown, they just said, you can't play here anymore. And then they signed him up. As a matter of fact, I don't know if they're related, but Kyle Rote did play for, I think this is the Giants, the New York Giants, the New York Football Giants. That is true. So if they're not related, so what? Okay, just a fact as I'm going along here. But anyway, Tobin Rote spent most of the time as a starting quarterback, and then later on, and John Hadel was quarterback as well. He was a backup. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at John Hadel and his playing days as quarterback, he's the only quarterback you will ever see with a number above 19, because 19 or less is the number that they give quarterbacks for their jerseys. The thing was, he was started out as a running back, and his number was 21. So he kept that number. So he's the only quarterback with a number above 19 that you will ever see in NFL history, unless it's a running back that plays quarterback, like Walter Payton did with the Bears one time. The running backs, big names, Paul Lowe and Keith Lincoln, were just powerhouses. These guys were really good. And they shared the ball equally, and they blocked for each other equally, because they knew that if I don't block for the other guy, and when I get the ball, he may not block for me. So it was actually pretty cool. And one of the big names, Hall of Famer Lance Allworth, is all over this book, because they talk about the different games, great games that he had. But he was the one who, in this book, believes, he does the forward in this book, and he played with the Cowboys later on. Tom Landry signed him up, either signed him up or not drafted, traded for him. I can't remember, but anyway, I should know, right? So he goes to play for the Cowboys, and they make it to the Super Bowl and win. He has said the 1963 team was better than the team he was on that won the Super Bowl. Just an opinion, of course, but Lance Allworth was a beast of a receiver. And it is, like I said, it's really cool, because, like, for instance, week 13, my Oilers, they were playing my Oilers, and they even have the amount of people. I love the fact that they included the attendance of the game. Now, the regular season, let's see, they were 11-3. So the question becomes, how in the hell did they decide that the Chargers and the Bears would play each other, and how they would figure it out? Well, the Bears, in their season, they were 11-1-2, and the Chargers were 11-3. And then they played their championship game and they won. I believe they beat the Patriots like 51-10. And so there's a computer program that's set up, and that's how they figured out how the game would go. And they did it several times. And in this book, it describes that Chargers Bears in the first Super Bowl. And it's pretty interesting how they set it up. And that's the Bears that had Mike Ditka as tight end. Billy Wade was their quarterback. You don't hear much about Billy Wade. Caceres was a running back that I've heard of on occasion, but the big name is Ditka. But in '63, you know, the Bears were just a hard-nosed team, as any team that was coached by Paul George Hallis, Papa Hallis. I was going to call him Papa Hallis. But anyway, one of the things that I thought was pretty cool that I didn't get to see much about in the book that was about Sid Gilman was being a guy who's involved in or has been in media for over 20 years, watching football. I remember seeing a guy on TV. His name was Paul McGuire. I'm like, I wonder what his background is. Well, Paul McGuire played with the Chargers, and he was a defensive back, and he also punted. And I don't know if any of you remember him. Some of you who are hardcore football guys or fans that have remembered watching football games in the late '80s probably saw him. He was on NBC. He was I think he was a color commentator. I don't think he was a play-by-play guy. But the PC game they used to create this competition between these two teams was called Action PC, and it was a football game program. And they kind of worked it out. They said they did it 100 times. Chargers won 54 times, and the Bears winning 46. There was one overtime game that was won by the Bears 17-14. And the average score that each team would have, the Chargers averaged 18 points and the Bears 16.35. So they have the Chargers winning, and they have them winning 30-27. So it was a very close game. So it's a great read. The concept of teams that didn't get to play each other is pretty wild. But the part that I like the most is hearing or reading about every game. And at the end of every game that they talk about, they mention around the AFL, which is cool because you can hear, you can read, oh, so-and-so team beat the other team or they lost, and what the score was. It was like getting a highlight of that week's contest. So it was really cool to kind of read about that season of what the Chargers were involved in. And but anyway, I highly recommend it if you're a football fan. And I know I talked to a friend of mine earlier today, and he was kind enough to share some kind thoughts about these book reports. Thanks, Matt. I appreciate that. And I told him, hey, I'm recording this tonight so that I'm going to post it as soon as I'm done. But this is a great book, The Uncrowned Champs, how the 1963 San Diego Chargers would have won the Super Bowl. So if you're a football fan, it's an easy read. It's a fun read. You know, there's always people saying so-and-so player's better than this guy from another era, and how do you compete? Yeah, it's okay. It's a 3-point win in the book, right? So there you have it. Another football book, being that we're in the football season, and I get to wear my my Dan Fouts jersey, which I'm telling you, the jerseys, if you want to talk jersey, uni talk, I guess you could say, for all of you sports nerds, when it comes to uniforms, the powder blues of San Diego rock. And the helmet, the white helmet with the powder blue lightning bolt with a number on the side, really cool. And the helmet with only one bar. Those are my favorites. Anyway, that's what Lance Allworth used to wear, and what a lot of guys used to wear back in the day. So there you have it. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and it's worth checking into. Until the next time, have a good one.